Hello everyone, my name is Chili Jung. Thank you for watching my video. Today I'm gonna talk about gender representation in moral education textbooks in South Korea. Let me begin by giving some backgrounds of my study. As the Dark Framework for Action called for eliminating gender disparities in primary and secondary education in 2000, the publication of gender equality curricular and textbooks has emerged as one of main educational goals in a global society. Since textbooks are powerful instruments to convey the belief and value of society as official knowledge, gender bias and underrepresentation in textbooks do matter. For these reasons, studies pertaining to gender bias and representation in textbooks have flourished in recent years. However, despite its important function in understanding whether and how gender bias and representation in textbooks have changed over time, systematic longitudinal research addressing these questions is largely absent. To fill this such important gap, I do longitudinal research, and for theoretical frame, I look world culture perspective or theory in order to considering the effect of global trends in education on national education system, especially textbooks. According to this perspective, countries are increasingly influenced by world standards of justice since they seek legitimacy in globalized world. From this perspective, there was a worldwide shift in gender representation in textbooks, especially after a global current of gender equality curricular and textbooks, such as the 2000 Dark Framework at World Education Forum. However, little has been known about whether such global trend is also found in countries like South Korea, where authoritarian and patriarchal tradition weigh heavily in much of society. Special attention is given to moral education textbooks, as moral education in Korea has played a crucial role in conveying traditional values and building national identity among students. It is relatively recently that the core elements of the global educational model have been incorporated in moral education textbooks in Korea. So what do you think? Do you think moral education textbooks in Korea have followed the global gender equality education trend? Let me give you my guess. According to the world cultural perspective, countries which deeply engaged in global society are more likely to be influenced by global trends. So, given that Korea has played a crucial role in global education society, textbooks in Korea might have gone after global trends. To be specific, since Korea has actively engaged in and even had World Education Forum, which lead the global education trends, it is possible that 2000 World Education Forum had impact on education system in Korea. But on the other hand, it is also possible that global trends cannot significantly influence on moral education textbooks in Korea, because moral education textbooks used to solidly reflect the Korea government's interests. To answer this question, I analyzed 22 middle school moral education textbooks that have been published in Korea from 1973 to 2019. Here is the list of textbooks used in analysis. It includes from the very first moral education textbooks to current textbooks. So using content analysis, I examine and compare the frequency of female representations in domains such as politics, professionals, household responsibilities, and intellectual traditions. Here are some examples of pictures in textbooks. After content analysis, I conducted OLS regression to explore whether a series of global gender equality trends can account for changes in gender representation in more education textbooks. Since the data is nested data, I mean chapters are nested within textbooks and textbooks are nested within curriculum or period when that curriculum had been implemented. I utilized robust cluster standard errors to deal with violation of OLS regression independent assumption. Dependent variables are proportion of female characters in textbooks in each domain. Independent variable is a 2000 global gender equality trend, which is a dummy variable. And I also include controls in models. Let's see the result. I find impressive trends in increasing ratio of female characters in many domains over time. Figure 1 and 2 indicate that gender bias considerably existed in South Korea more education textbooks. Women were invisible in public and economic realms. However, at the same time, Figure 1 indicates increase of female characters over time in public realms. And in Figure 2, it shows more dramatic increase over time in professionals. Both show that the gap between female and male characters has been considerably closed after 2000 global gender equality trends. Similarly, there was gender stereotypes in domestic laws in the past, but it has been overcome over time. So to make sure whether this trend reflects the global trends of gender equality education, I conducted OLS regression. Results from OLS show that textbooks which were published after the gender equality education trend are more likely to have higher female portion in politics and professionals, and lower female portion in household responsibilities. Therefore, it seems that the global trend is related to trend in South Korea, which support world cultural perspective. However, it is not the whole story. Gender bias is still solid in some aspect despite of influential global trend. For example, there has been no female philosopher in textbooks at all. Considering that philosophers are and their thoughts are one of the most important part of moral education, this result is disappointing. So why couldn't the global trend make difference in the representation of women philosophers? This may due to excavating women philosophers requires more time and efforts than just adding fictional female characters. In other words, the global trend may influence contents of education superficially, and it may not be enough to bring change in more fundamental part of content. Also, even though the number of female characters in public realm has increased, female characters usually talk about women's rights. On the contrary, male characters appear in various political situations such as voting, protest against global warming. So this means that women are still underrepresented in many political realms. Therefore, the quantitative increase in female characters in textbooks does not necessarily bring comprehensive and qualitative improvement in women representation. Lastly, let me summarize the results and talk about implications of them briefly. First, the research reveals that the influence of global trends on countries' education system may be superficial. So in this respect, future research on whether global trends can permeate into the most inner parts and core of education system in each country could enrich a world culture perspective. Second, the results also show that the woman representation has quantitatively increased, but women are still lacking some domains such as intellectual traditions and politics. Therefore, to have gender equality of textbooks, more detailed standards for textbooks may need to be set by governments or international education society. Okay, so thank you so much for your interest and attention. If you have any question or need more information regarding my presentation, please don't hesitate to email me. I'm happy to answer any question you may have. Thank you.